Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as Erik ten Hag gets ruthless and shows the door to not one but two Manchester United players. We'll also be talking about Manager of the Month, Player of the Month. Player of the Month, you've got four candidates there. We'll do a little poll for you, as well as what else I want to talk about. I want to talk about a little bit of a Sociedad injury boost. We don't like to see injuries, but they've got plenty. That gives us a massive boost on Thursday. We've also got some interesting comments from Patrice Evra around Marcus Rashford and Harry Maguire. And I do want to talk about a couple of things that we missed out on from last night about Max Aarons and Paul Pogba. So lots to get into on the show. Sweater Bridge, says Masu. The reason I'm wearing this is that Halloween has gone. Christmas preparations are starting to be thought of. The new knitwear Christmas jumper from the United Stand is out. Many people have pre-ordered it. Those deliveries are going to start over the next week or two worldwide. We've got 100 left. If you want to get one, you need to get your orders in now. Links in the video description or go to United Stand Shopify. To commemorate 20 titles, 13 Premier League, 7 Old Division 1s. There's a number 20 on the back as well. Nice little manager knitwear there. Fantastic design. It is knitted. It is the Christmas jumper of dreams this year, and it can be yours. We ship worldwide. Get your order in before they're gone. Anyway, look, let's get on to the show. Erik ten Hag getting ruthless. We know he's ruthless. I mean, if anybody is in any doubt now that Erik ten Hag is strong-willed, motivated and determined to make Manchester United successful by whatever means necessary, then if you have not figured that out, you haven't really been watching Erik ten Hag. You've probably been sat with Graham Souness. But the reality is he has been ruthless. He's been ruthless with Maguire, Luke Shaw, Sancho currently, Ronaldo. There are many examples in these 3 short months of Erik ten Hag being in charge of how ruthless he is. And today, we've got 2 players that really are heading for a January transfer window exit. We've had Pellistri's agent come out and speak. And obviously we know that Aaron Wan-Bissaka has just got zero chance of becoming a Manchester United player of the future under Erik ten Hag. And there may well be others, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I suppose we'll start off with Pellistri, a player that many of you like, a player that I quite like. But I've got to be honest with you, what do I like him for? I mean, I like the idea of him. I like the sound of him. I like the potential of him, but I don't think Erik ten Hag does. And the agent of Pellistri's come out today and said that, hopefully he'll go and have a good World Cup and then his move in January is imminent, or words to that effect. So, yeah, we've seen Pellistri on the bench recently, but we've not seen any minutes for him, anything meaningful. We certainly haven't seen a start. And I think that he is a player that's going to fall into that Aaron Wan-Bissaka category for Erik ten Hag, who is surplus to requirements. And yes, he may well play in the World Cup for Uruguay. He may play a role, but the rumours and stories coming out of the dressing room is that this is a player that, doesn't do it for Erik ten Hag, or not that he doesn't do it, but he feels that it's not a player that he needs. Does he need a Pellistri when he's got a Garnacho and an Elanga and other players coming through in the youth? So expect Pellistri to go in January. His agent certainly expects that to happen. And I suppose the big question is where he would go and how much money we would get for him. The way United sell players, I wouldn't be surprised if we got £5 million back. But I don't know whether we'd get as much as 10. But yeah, Pellistri heading to the door on the word of his agent today. Erik ten Hag, imminent departure in January, according to Pellistri's agent. Pellistri will be going. So Hader says Pellistri deserves to play over Elanga. Pellistri, what a useless signing, says Manon. And Pellistri is better than Elanga all day, says Azad. Yeah, but that's what you think. We're not the manager, are we? Erik ten Hag is the manager, and he's the man that leads this team, so to speak. So yeah, we are live, aren't we? Oh yeah, we are live. Good. It's just a bit of a weird new setup on YouTube. It's taken a little bit of getting used to. Words were taken out of context. His agent was talking about a loan move, says Mario. Mario, out of context, in context, you might be right, you might be wrong, but the bottom line is, if he was a player that Erik ten Hag had any consideration for, then he would have got minutes over people like Garnacho and what's his name? Elanga. Elanga started at the weekend, and Garnacho started last Thursday. He's behind them in the pecking order. He's not a youth player. He's a player that we brought in at the same time as Ahmad, and a loan move is only delaying the inevitable. He's been on loan twice already in his time here. He's 21 in December. I think the writing's on the world. I mean, look, I'm not taking it back, basically, Mario. I stand by what I'm saying, that he doesn't have a future at Manchester United under Erik ten Hag, and he's a surplus to requirement player, and Erik ten Hag's been ruthless already. I mean, look, you can start pretending that he's going to go on loan and then he's going to come back and then he's going to get a chance. He's sat on the bench for the last few games and he's not been given a chance. Garnacho and Elanga have been started above him. Oh, but he's going to be given a chance. He sold James Garner in the summer, a player that we all wanted to be given a chance. Pellistri's finished. He's gone. Accept it. He's going to get sold. And I think his agent's aware of it and we're all aware of it. Second player is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. No surprises there. There has been a few stories floating around about Max Aarons from Norwich. A player I like. I do like Max Aarons. The only issue I have with Max Aarons is not that I don't think he'd be an interesting profile of right back to come into the club. I mean, it's difficult. I think that you've got to build your future around Delot. So you can't go and buy Dumfries or Frimpong because they will want to start, and you'll end up in a situation where you've got an interesting but arguably bad situation where you've got two right backs who both want to start. Max Aarons coming in from Norwich wouldn't expect to start over Delot and maybe could build into something. I think Max Aarons is 22, isn't he? Is he 22 or 23? I don't know. I mean, he's not 18, is what I'm trying to say. So, I mean, maybe that profile of right back's what we need. Somebody that will come in and know they're going to be the backup right back, like Malacia, and then you hope that they get, but you want them good enough to push the first choice right back, like Malacia with Luke Shaw. So, Max Aarons is interesting. I like the player. My issue is, we were linked to Max Aarons very regularly with Solskjaer. He is a player that just seems to get linked to us a lot, and I wonder whether actually we are in for him. But it certainly leads and leans towards Aaron Wan-Bissaka being, surplus to requirements. I do wonder whether Aaron Wan-Bissaka will even play another minute for Manchester United. I think the breakdown in suitability, and I'm not saying there's been a breakdown in relationship between him and Ten Hag, but the breakdown in suitability is clear for all to see. Again, he's another player that seems to have been injured all season, but where did he pick that injury up? Delot has been playing, more football than anybody in a Manchester United shirt this season, and he's still not used Wan-Bissaka. Now, we've always had this injury story, but with only Sociedad, Villa, Carabao Cup and Fulham before the World Cup, will Wan-Bissaka have any involvement in any of those games? If he doesn't, then really, effectively, I don't think he'll kick a ball for Manchester United again. And I do wonder whether that's the plan, whether Wan-Bissaka wants to or Ten Hag wants him to. I think with Wan-Bissaka, we are moving towards that he probably will never kick a ball for Manchester United again. So that's ruthless from Ten Hag. What I would say is, and it's well known, that, and it's not, Wan-Bissaka is back in training, Hader. He was back in training last week, but he didn't make the bench. Makish says Maguire 100% needs to go next summer. Well, we'll talk about him in a minute because Maguire, Evra's spoken about him and him leaving. But sticking with Wan-Bissaka for a moment, let's not forget that there is an level of incompetence here, and it's not Wan-Bissaka's fault and it's not Ten Hag's fault. Ten Hag wanted Wan-Bissaka to go in the summer, and Wan-Bissaka was aware of that, and they were aware of that at the start of June. That was 3 months before the transfer window closed. The story goes that people in that football club said, no, we're not selling Wan-Bissaka. And the story goes that it was the director of football. So, look, I think Ten Hag has probably, if there's truth in that story, shown the director of football who the boss is. Because you can tell me you're not selling a player, but you can't make me pick him. And I think that we'll have to see how that develops, because if that story is true, that Ten Hag wanted Wan-Bissaka to go in the summer, which we know is, but the club said no, and then Ten Hag doesn't pick him, he just makes the club look stupid because I'm the boss. And Ten Hag is right to react like that. If you're the manager of Man United, or I'm the manager of Man United, and I say to the director of football, I want him sold, he's not part of my plan, and the director of football says, I'm not selling him, then I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to say, look, I've told you I'm not picking him. I've told you I don't want to use him. You've ignored me. Well, I'm ignoring you. I'm not picking him. So, do your job. There was an offer on the table for Wan-Bissaka in the summer. It was less than 20% what we paid for him. So we paid £50 million for him, and 10% of that would be, about 5 million. So less than 20% of that would be, around 10 million. That was the rumour. I thought I'd heard it was 15 million, but apparently the offer was around 10. But that is pitiful. That is a pitiful offer for Wan-Bissaka. But if you get what you pay for, and you get what people are willing to pay, I don't see his price tag's going to get boosted. I really don't. So look, United need to move on from that one very quickly in January. I read that Mendes is trying to move Dalot to Barcelona, says Kunal. I mean, I have seen that myself. I don't think there's any truth in it. And I think United will fight hammer and tong to keep Dalot. And remember, Dalot's not out of contract in the summer. He's got an extension of another year. Transfer Market website's got it wrong. He doesn't have the additional year on there, but he does in his real contract. If you go back to when Man United signed Dalot, it's there on the Man United website that the contract that he signed had a +1. So he is not leaving the club in the summer, and he will, I think, sign a new contract, Dalot. So look, ruthless Erik ten Hag, we've seen it. We saw it with Ghana. I think we'll see it with many more players over the next 6 months, and you're going to see it with Pellistri and Wan-Bissaka. And really, could you argue with that? I don't know. Lamptey over Aarons for Stephen. Again, could be an interesting player. I mean, I like Lamptey. He's certainly good going forward. He's fallen on hard times at Brighton, but he might be worth a look. Will says Ralph Rangnick was right. We need 10 new players. And who would you sign at right back? Says CeeLo. I don't mind the link with Frimpong. Dumfries was always the player I knew Ten Hag wanted, but I don't know whether he wants Dumfries now, because I think he really is happy with Dalot, and Dumfries would want to start. I think the profile of Dumfries and Dalot is too good. I like the Malacia-Shaw thing. Yes, Shaw's the number one at the moment, but we've already seen if Shaw drops off, Malacia will fight him. So we've got a good. We want to reflect the left side on the right hand side. So Dalot's your number one, but you want somebody who can fight with him, but will expect to come in as number two. But you don't want them to be 31. Like, you want them to be somebody that can genuinely fight and develop. Malacia is perfect. He will fight with Luke Shaw. He's already took the place off him once, and he will get better and better with age. So we need a Malacia type. We need a right back who isn't considered a starter, but would come in young enough to develop, but battle with Dalot from day one. And maybe Max Aarons is the right player for that. Maybe he is, but I don't know that. There's anybody out there. I mean, look, Ethan Laird is really interesting at QPR. He's doing a good job. He's doing it in the Championship. Is Ethan Laird better than Max Aarons? Now, there's a debate, because if he is, or it's even close, he's our player already. So why would you spend whatever money, 15 million on Max Aarons from the Championship, when you've got Ethan Laird in the Championship who's on loan from us? What I would say is, and I've seen a few people in the chat, Brandon Williams should have a go, because he's not a left back. I don't understand this right-footed left back thing. And he's, I know Cancelo can do it, but Brandon Williams ain't Cancelo. He's an average left back who's got a right foot. So maybe he should be given a chance at right back. I personally do not think Brandon Williams is good enough to play for Manchester United. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe give him a chance. United may have priorities on other positions, but would be agreed to bringing in another centre-back, such as Kim Min-jae from Napoli, because Varane is injury-prone, says Hay. Well, look, I think we do need to bring a centre-back in. Do I think we're looking to bring a centre-back in? No. I don't know whether you heard what Patrice Evra said. I think he was doing an interview with somebody. And look, I think Patrice Evra, again, legend of the football club, but also pretty hit and miss in his comments. I think sometimes he's decent and sometimes he's not. But he was speaking about Harry Maguire, and he said basically that this is Harry Maguire's last chance, and if he doesn't take it, he'll need to leave. But then he went on to say, but the fans need to get behind him, because I believe he's going to do it, and he's got the support of the manager and the players. So it's sort of like a typical ex-player really, who basically is, they're so sat on the fence that there's a groove for their bum cheeks. Like, if he doesn't get it right this time, he needs to leave. But I think he is going to get it right, and the fans need to get behind him. It's sort of like you've gone halfway down the road and then you turn around and come back. I actually disagree with Patrice Evra on that. I sign Timber for centre-back, inverted right-back, and bring in Laird to Scanzo. I mean, I do think that we need to buy a centre-back. I don't necessarily think we need to buy a centre-back because we need to sell Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof. I think we need to buy a centre-back because it's very, very obvious that when you play Varane and Martinez, you can play in a very different way because you've got a bit of pace there. And when we play with Martinez and Maguire or Martinez and Lindelof, we have no real escape pace, is what I call it. Get out of jail pace. Martinez isn't slow, but Maguire and Lindelof ain't quick. Varane is quick. So you've got that get out of jail pace. We don't really have a centre-back with get out of jail pace. And what I mean by that is somebody who can cover the distance if you're caught and chase a sprinter. Varane can do it. I'm not saying Varane's lightning, but he's probably our quickest centre-back. We need to bring in a centre-back who's got pace. And obviously, Maguire and Lindelof are never going to have that. So we do need to bring another centre-back in. But that doesn't mean you've got to sell Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof. I mean, you probably would need to move one of them on. But so I think when Patrice Evra said, and look, I know a lot of you, and we're going to do a vote on Player of the Month in a minute because we've got the 4 candidates that have been released by United. But I know a lot of you would sell Maguire. Is that a Christmas sweater, Mark? Yes, Timo, it is. We've got 100 left. If you want to get one, we do ship worldwide. Links in the description. Get your orders in quick. But yeah, I know a lot of you would get rid of Maguire. I don't think I've ever said let's sell Maguire. I said in the summer that it's a big season for him. So I disagree with Patrice Evra when he says this is his last chance and if it doesn't work out for him, he's going to have to leave. Because I don't think we're at that point yet. I mean, look at the season already. We started the season with Maguire at centre-back. We saw Martinez subbed off at half-time against Brentford. Then after that, our new centre-back pairing was Martinez and Varane, which was very good. Then Varane missed Everton and Lindelof played. Then he went off injured against Chelsea and Lindelof played. Then Lindelof got ill and then Maguire came in. So I don't think we're at a point with any of our centre-backs where you can say, if you don't take this chance, you need to be sold. What if Maguire plays well for the next 2 games, goes to the World Cup, gets injured, comes back, doesn't play till February? Do we need to sell him then because he misses, December and January? I think we're way too early to start writing any player off at Manchester United. I mean, I'm sure Ten Hag is going to start making his minds up, but I don't really think we're at that point. To be honest, you know what? How about Makoku on a free transfer in the summer after reports he's being offered out by his agents, says Jason. Mark, what do you think about Trossard from Brighton as we need a forward, says Andy and Bruno. And interesting points. I don't know why the super chats and members chats are duplicating. It's a bit annoying. Makish says, Mark, you're going back on your own words. I don't think I'm going back on my own words at all, because I know what I said in the summer, and I said I wouldn't sell McTominay or Maguire or Fred in the summer. I think we need to keep them this year and then make a decision on them next summer, and I remember saying that. We had too many players that we needed to sell in the summer before we started thinking about people that were obviously going to be involved around the first team, and we didn't even sell them, did we? The Wan-Bissakas, the Phil Jones, the Brandon Williams, the Twan Sebis. So there was a few players we needed to move on before we even started talking about people like McTominay, Fred, Maguire, Rashford, or whoever else people were talking about. But look, there was a comment here, the protection Maguire gets is insane, says Savage. I do want to just say that's probably one of my biggest irritants, is that Harry Maguire plays well for 30 minutes and you can't move for talk about Harry Maguire. I mean, he's got the best fan club amongst the media than any Man United player, because he did play well in the last 30 minutes against West Ham, and I know why he played well, because we played deep, and this is why he plays well for England. Harry Maguire's a very good centre-back when he's defending the edge of his penalty box with loads of players around him and people are whipping crosses in. That's why Man United probably bought him, because when he's in that mood, he's very, very good. You want to play from the halfway line and leave him 2v2, you might find a different issue, but he did play well on Sunday, and nobody should forget that. He played well in the second half, but he played well for half an hour, and we can't move for people telling us how good he is. Martinez has played well for about 13 games, and people are still talking about him can't passing out from the back and he's too small. That's the irritant. Neither Maguire nor Martinez drive this rhetoric. The media does. And, before the England international break, no Man United player was talking about Maguire because he was on the bench and Varane and Martinez were better. We go on the England duty and suddenly everybody's talking about Maguire again. I wonder why. Because the press can't shut up about it. They're always on about it. He has a good half an hour and suddenly he's back. Martinez has 12 fantastic games and he's still being written off. That's why people get irritated. I feel for Harry. I feel for Martinez because it's not fair. It's not fair. But it's media driven. Whether it's ex-players or the media, they cannot stop hyping up Maguire and they refuse to really hype up Martinez. And that's why people start getting a bit pissed off. Because they're like, why are we even talking about a guy that's played well for half an hour? Lindelof played fantastic against Everton and really well against Chelsea for half an hour. Don't remember people talking about how great he was or putting him in Team of the Week. So that's what I think irritates people, is this overhype of certain players. But I completely disagree with Patrice on this one. I really don't think that saying, you know, it's a last chance for a player and if they don't take it, they'll need to be sold. It's the middle of October. Well, it's the start of November now. It's way too early. Been hearing some things about this lad named Kim Min-jae from Napoli. How certain are you Su leaves in January and who do you want, says the Society. I don't really want to talk about Ronaldo tonight because it's settled around Ronaldo. We've spent a lot of time talking about Ronaldo. I still think there's a chance he'll go in January, but I think there's a chance he won't go in January. And I know that's a boring answer, but, you know. Maguire will make a mistake, it'll cost us and he'll be dropped. Would you now rather lose Europa or a Premier League game because of his mistakes, as Sarvish? I don't want to lose anything, Sarvish. I want to win. I think when Varane's fit, Maguire goes back to the bench anyway because the difference between Maguire and Varane is huge. But for now, I want him to play well. Any serious football club will have 50 million min for January. Right back, Gakpo must. Won't mind Fred for Tillemans. Any updates on Glazer's selling? Says Srim Vassin. Nope. And also, Eric Ten Hag said Maguire is important for the squad. I think it's telling where Harry is on our order. Our centre-backs is as good an option from the bench, says Carmine. Yeah, I think at the moment, if Varane was fit, there's no debate who would start at centre-back. So, as I say, you know, we've just got to, you know, get behind the players and hope that they can deliver. I think that's the most important thing. Mark, what do you think about Kante on a free transfer? Shut up. No, Suex, absolutely not. No. I do not want Kante at Manchester United. Love the guy. Fantastic player. But his injury record is like Schweinsteiger when we got hold of him. You can't go and do that. You can't build a future on a poppadom. It's brittle and it will break. And, you know, I think that analogy is really talking about any player that's brittle and has an injury issue. We can't be buying that sort of player. We want to build a future on concrete so that when the impact comes, it's a dent. It's not disintegration. We buy players built on poppadoms. When that impact comes, it gets shattered. We can't have that. Right, we're going to do Player of the Month. I want you to vote on this. The 4 candidates for Player of the Month are as follows. Marcus Rashford, Delo, Martinez and Casemiro. Now, going by the chart show, I know exactly who should be winning this, but you can get your thoughts in. I love Kante, by the way, but we don't need that. I think I've learned my lesson. I think if you'd asked me this 3 or 4 years ago, my love for Kante and his ability would go, it's worth the risk. But you learn over time that Cavani is never going to stay fit. Martial's never going to stay fit. Pogba's never going to stay fit. You know, Kante's never going to stay fit now. So, you know, as good as Kante is, if he only plays 50% of your season, you're actually better off. And even though he's not as good as Kante, you're better off going and signing Sean Longstaff. Because if he's fit for 90% of the time, you need people who are going to play. Would you take Neves or Tillemans if they go down, says Capil? Well, Neves will go to Barcelona, it's well known. And Tillemans, I would take Tillemans, yeah. I think it's a good deal for whoever can do it. Just very quickly on Marcus Rashford, really liked his tweet today where he was talking about his 100th goal, but said, can we get some appreciation for the Eriksen cross? Now, you're a complete and utter prat if you need to read a tweet from Marcus Rashford to appreciate the Eriksen cross. It was absolutely delightful, which we enjoyed on the watch-along as it happened. But nice that Marcus Rashford is putting that out there and tagging him in because, you know, that goal doesn't happen as good as it is without that ball, which was pure delight. Absolutely fantastic. I did watch the show with Charlie this morning where he was talking about Marcus Rashford and a new contract before January. That contract was happening anyway. You know, I've mentioned this before. This Marcus Rashford contract was happening regardless. it's just about timing. And thank God Marcus Rashford is actually playing well enough to justify a new contract. Because when we were speaking about him in the summer, and God, can you actually stand these smug prats who come out with stuff like, where's all the people who said Rashford should be sold now? Oh, fuck off. Just piss off. I mean, literally do it. I mean, what are you talking about? Where were you in the summer telling us he should stay then? You know, this is football. Marcus Rashford himself would tell you in the summer he was struggling. His brother was talking to PSG. Like, you know, a player can be dreadful and discussed about being sold. That's the whole point of a redemption arc. You know, that's the whole point of a comeback. In Batman, when he fights Bane and he gets his arse kicked and he gets thrown into that pit, everyone thinks Batman's finished. He's hurt his back. He can't get out of a hole. He tries to get out of a hole, he falls down and he hurts his back again. But he gets out that hole and he beats the shit out of Bane. Like, the whole point of writing people off is in the hope that they will come back like Batman and rise again. So, you know, I think that I can't be doing with that sort of knobheadish behaviour where people go, where's all the people who said Rashford should be sold now? Well, I think it was a very valid argument. I think we spoke about it here. Again, I didn't really want Rashford to be sold. I've always liked him, and I believe there was a player in there, and I have been one of those people who've said that consistently, as you know. But I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so, because I didn't know. I didn't know. I understood that maybe Rashford should be sold. I think I even said it might be best for him to go. But I've always believed there's a player there. But I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so. Where were you when I was saying that? It's just, that again, that's not analysis. That's just, I'm trying to be a big bollocks. But the contract for Marcus Rashford was always going to happen. Manchester United, as we know, are incompetent at transfers. And Manchester United are very incompetent at handing contracts out to people who don't necessarily deserve it. I know that Marcus Rashford was going to be offered a contract, whether he played well this season or not. As I say, it's brilliant that he is playing well, and, you know, you could justify giving him a new contract. I don't think you can justify giving him the 300 grand a week he might be asking for, but that's a good job by his agent and Rashford if he gets it, because Man United may be stupid enough to do it. But that new contract's going to happen. He doesn't want to leave, which is a big thing. He's playing well. Eric Ten Hag likes him. And Manchester United don't want to lose a player like that who, when they're playing well, let's be honest, his social reach, his brand is huge and valuable. And he's from the youth. So tick, 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 tick. He's going to get that new contract. The interesting thing is, do you give a player 300 grand a week and a 5-year deal for playing well for 3 months? Because the previous 18 months haven't been that great and have been riddled with injury problems. But that's not my issue, and it's not your issue. That's the club's risk. If they want to do that, then they will end up, if it goes wrong, being criticised like they have done over loads of others. But I think that contract was always going to happen, and I certainly think that Marcus Rashford this season has been one of our better players. Abia, welcome to the Members Club. So, interesting poll on Player of the Month. It's still there for you to vote on. We've had 4,000 votes. Rashford's got 9% at the moment. Dalot's got 21%. Martinez has got 39%. And Casemiro has got 31%. Now, remember, Casemiro has been our number one on the chart show for the last 3 weeks, which suggests he's been Player of the Month. But it's your vote, so get it in. I do just want to talk very quickly about Sociedad injuries. I don't know whether you're aware that they've got 7 players out for the game on Thursday. Now, Beth's out there. You might have seen it on our Twitter. Check out @UnitedStand MUFC. Beth's out in Spain. You know, fantastic weather, getting ready for the game. I was sent to Barnet today, if you check my Instagram, @GoldbridgeMark. But exciting game on Thursday. I've done the preview this afternoon. Don't forget to check it out because it'll get you in the mood. But yeah, they're missing 7 players on Thursday, Sociedad. David Silva, Oyarzabal and Kubo, the Japanese winger who played quite well against us actually at Old Trafford, is out. So look, even more reason to go there and win by the 2 clear goals that we want. And I think we are favourites to do it. And I'm not saying that they aren't going to be a decent side, Sociedad, without those players. I mean, most teams can carry 22 players, and that's the whole point. But yeah, it certainly makes our job a little bit easier. And, you know, it's a boost. Look, I've got no sympathy with Sociedad. They got a very lucky 3 points at Old Trafford because of a dodgy ref.
If they've got a few injuries and it plays into our hands, then, you know, let's go and win there by a couple of goals. Simple as that. Simple as that. Very simple as that. Why are you a bit early tonight? Because I'm going to be on That's Football for Marseille against Spurs. Massive game. I don't know whether Eric Bailly is starting in that game, actually. Let's have a quick look. But yeah, basically Spurs could be dropping down to the Europa League as well. So it's an exciting night in the Champions League, and I'm doing that watch-along, 8 o'clock kickoff. Eric Bailly does start for Marseille, as does Alexis Sanchez, Guendouzi. Yeah, looking forward to that. Beretut, Lopez. Yeah, interesting game. And no place for Kulusevski for Spurs. Emerson Royale's not starting either. Yeah, looking forward to that. Eric Bailly. Do we want Spurs knocking into the Europa League? I'm not that bothered. Yeah, Alexis Sanchez and Eric Bailly play for Marseille Des East Gaming. I'll be live on that in a few minutes' time on That's Football. But before that, don't forget, I want to talk about Paul Pogba very briefly. Don't forget the Christmas jumper. You can get these shipped out worldwide now. They're up for sale. We had pre-orders. Now they're up for sale. Links in the chat. United Stands, Shopify. We've got about 100 left. Once they're gone, they're gone. I don't think we're going to do another reprint of them. They are knitted. Reknit, I suppose it is. They are our very first Christmas jumpers that are knitted. So proper knitted Christmas jumpers that people can feel and touch when you're at your Christmas parties or your family gatherings, if you want them to. Don't let them touch you if you don't want to. 20 times is commemorated. We've got a number 20 on the back. I think it's best to show you that side. You can see the start of the two. We've got all 20 titles, 13 Premier League and 7 old Division 1 ones. That's what that is there. Little quotes on the side there and managers. Lovely pattern. Check it out. Delivered to your door worldwide. United Stand Shopify. Links in the description. Get your orders in. Once they're gone, they are gone. I'll tell you who's gone out of the World Cup. Paul Pogba. I wanted to talk about this last night, but it was such a good show last night. Really enjoyed it. Juventus are talking rubbish. There's tumbleweed. So Juventus have basically said that Manchester United must have known that Paul Pogba had an injury. He's missing the World Cup. He's not kicked a ball for Juventus. Can I just say, I like Juventus, but boo fucking who? I mean, look, he was a free agent. We haven't sold you a dud. I don't know what Juventus are on about. Or was it their ex-manager Lippi or something? I tell you what, he's getting bloody Lippi. What has it got to do with us? He was out of contract. He walked. He didn't want to sign a contract at Man United. You gave him a contract. It's got nothing to do with us whether we knew he was injured or not. He's mugged you off, not us. If Pogba's gone there knowing he's got an injury and you've signed him, you're the mugs. That's what a medical's for, lads. And ladies, she might have done the medical. I don't know what that's got to do with Manchester United. Absolutely nothing. He's a free agent. So I don't know what Juventus are on about. Shut up. But Paul Pogba missing the World Cup, for me it's the same as Kante missing the World Cup, Reece James missing the World Cup. The World Cup is a little bit worse for not having those characters. I've never really had a problem with Paul Pogba. I think it was time for Manchester United and him to part ways. I didn't really like the booing of him last season. I don't really like the booing of any Man United player. And when he leaves Manchester United, I don't really have any ill will towards him. It's not a Di Maria situation or a Tevez. So I'm sad that Paul Pogba's not going to be playing in the World Cup, to be honest. I might be in the minority, but I don't shirk a big conversation. I don't shirk putting my opinion out there. I never really held any resentment towards Paul Pogba. He left. It was the time to go. I mean, we got no bloody money for him. If anyone should be moaning, it should be us. We paid them £90 million for Paul Pogba, and they got him back for free. So look, twice they got him for free. So look, yeah, I'm disappointed that Paul Pogba won't play in the World Cup. I think Paul Pogba, and I know it's about what you do on the pitch, but there are certain players that bring a bit of razzmatazz to the World Cup, and he would have brought that. But what I would say about Pogba is I always felt in the last couple of years he was sometimes injured because he was running his contract down and he didn't want to really play for us anymore. I actually think that was probably a bit unfair. I think over the last 2 years he's genuinely been injured and he's probably injury prone now. I mean, he's not far off 30, is he? It's a bad injury that he's got. So I personally think that the writing was on the wall with Paul Pogba for the last 2 or 3 years. He's picked up a lot of injuries, normally 2 a season, where he's out for about a month or 2 with each. So Paul Pogba's an injury-prone player now, We're seeing it with Kante. We're seeing it with Pogba. He's injury prone, and I think it's sad. Mark, even my brother who supports Arsenal has complimented me on my Butcher of Manchester t-shirt again. Thanks again. If you want to get the Butcher of Manchester t-shirt, they're on our United Stand Shopify website as well. They are very, very nice. See, some people are saying it's karma. I just don't live my life like that. I don't see the point in living my life laughing at other people's misfortunes when I don't really have any resentment towards him. But look, who am I to tell you? You can have your own opinions, of course you can, and I know that you I know that you will. So yeah, there we go. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? I hope. Look, please do check out the preview this afternoon, because in that preview, I talk about Bruno and Ronaldo and the Ronaldo and Bruno problem and why it's Bruno's problem and not Ronaldo's. And it's well worth a watch. I'd love to have had it on the show tonight, but I mentioned it on the preview this afternoon. So please do check out the preview for Sociedad, because there's a brilliant couple of minutes in there about Bruno and why it's his fault that he's not playing well with Ronaldo, in my opinion. Keep up the good work, Mark. I love the United Stand, says Edrin. Well, look, you know what? I love doing these shows. I think the 8 o'clock shows, probably since last Friday when I was a little bit drunk. They've just been fantastic ever since. The momentum, it's got a good momentum and flow to it, hasn't it? So really enjoying the shows. Make sure you do subscribe, by the way, bottom right hand corner. You're all very, very welcome. Don't forget about the jumpers if you want to get one. Please do check out the preview, and you've got a bit of time to watch the preview, because the Spurs game doesn't actually kick off until 8 o'clock when I'm on That's Football. Join me over on That's Football, watching a game of football, chatting about all sorts of stuff. I'll be over there in about 5 or 10 minutes time, but I'll push you over to the live chat there. And please do check out the preview. I'll speak to you in a bit.